Welcome. Today we are creating an expert-level guide for one of the most powerful automation tools you can get your hands on, n8n. Now this isn't going to be just some basic tour. We're jumping right into the deep end to give you a complete guide to implementing it, self-hosting it, and truly mastering it from the ground up.
Okay, so first things first, let's make sure we're all on the same page. When we say n8n, and yeah, that's pronounced n8n, we're talking about a workflow automation platform. But it's built on this really cool fair code idea. What that means is you can see the source code, you can host it yourself, and you can tweak it however you need. It's all about letting you visually connect hundreds of different services and even build some seriously powerful AI agents using simple low-code blocks. But, and this is crucial, it also lets you dive into custom code whenever you need that extra power.
All right, here's our game plan for this explainer. We'll kick things off with the what and why of n8n. Then we'll weigh the pros and cons of self-hosting versus using the cloud. From there, we're going to spin up your very first instance. And then the fun really begins. We'll get into pro-level best practices and wrap it all up with a clear roadmap to take you to total mastery. Let's get to it.
So first, let's really dig into the why. What's the big idea behind n8n? Why is it such a complete game changer for anyone who's really serious about automation and this idea of digital sovereignty, which is just a fancy way of saying you have complete control over your own tools and your own data?
The whole philosophy of n8n is about giving you the absolute best of both worlds. You get the incredible speed of low-code, right? You can visually connect over 400 services just by dragging and dropping. But, and this is the part I love, you don't give up any power. The moment a simple block isn't quite cutting it, you have this escape hatch. You can just inject your own custom JavaScript or Python to handle really complex logic. It's also built for AI from the ground up, letting you make private, secure AI agents. And maybe the best part, since you can host it yourself, you get to say goodbye to those crazy escalating SaaS fees. You get total ownership.
So how does the magic happen? Well, the architecture is actually pretty elegant. It all starts with you in the editor, visually designing your automation. As you do that, it's all being translated into a JSON file, which gets saved in the database. Then, when it's time to run, the engine grabs that JSON and just executes it, one step, one node at a time. And the whole thing can be controlled from the outside through a REST API, which makes it a super powerful programmable core for all your operations. It's a simple system that leads to incredibly powerful results.
And that elegant architecture brings us right to your first major strategic choice. This is a big one. Are you going to use n8n's managed cloud service, or are you going to roll up your sleeves and self-host for that ultimate control?
The decision really comes down to a classic trade-off. Self-hosting gives you absolute ultimate control. Your data lives on your servers. You can create any custom integration you can dream of, and your long-term costs are almost always lower. What's the catch? Well, you're the one in charge of updates and maintenance. On the other hand, n8n Cloud is all about convenience. You get official support, one-click updates, and slick collaboration features. But you do give up some of that control over your data. For this explainer, we're taking the self-hosted path, because we want to unlock that ultimate power.
Okay, so you've chosen the path of control and ownership. Excellent choice. Let's get you up and running. We're going to walk through the fastest, most reliable way to launch your very own n8n instance using Docker, which basically just wraps the whole application up in a neat, tidy container for us.
Now, this 6-step process might look a little intimidating, but it's really logical. First, you get Docker set up. Then you create a folder structure to keep your configurations separate from your precious data. After that, you just define what you want to run in a simple Docker Compose file. And a super important piece here is putting all your secrets, your passwords, and keys into a separate .env file. Once that's all in place, you run one single command to bring it all to life. And then you take that final step to secure it for the web.
Now, speaking of that .env file, here is a critical warning. If you're using Git for version control, you absolutely must add .env to your .gitignore file. I cannot stress this enough. This one little line of text stops you from accidentally publishing all of your secret passwords and API keys for the entire world to see. It is a tiny mistake with massive security implications. Do not skip this.
All right, fantastic. You've got a basic instance up and running. But now it's time for the pro move. Let's talk about the best practices that are going to transform that simple setup
into a rock-solid, secure, and truly production-ready automation engine.
Think of these as your non-negotiable rules for any serious setup. First, you've got to lock down your instance with a strong username and password. Second, always put it behind HTTPS. No exceptions. A lot of services won't even talk to you without it. You also need to set the webhook URL so n8n knows its own public address. And most importantly, please set up regular backups for your data directory. You have to have a safety net.
Okay, if you remember just one thing from this section, make it this one. It's about your database. Now, for just playing around, n8n can use a simple SQLite database file. That's fine for testing. But for any real serious production workload, using Postgres is non-negotiable. It's simply more robust, it scales way better, and it won't crumble when the pressure is on.
So how do you tune this thing for maximum performance? Well, if you're expecting a high volume of workflow executions, you want to set up queue mode with Redis, which lets things run in parallel. If you're dealing with huge data sets or big files, you can use sub-workflows to break up the job and even offload that data to your server's disk. And to protect yourself from mistakes, you can set global timeouts to kill any workflows that get stuck in a loop, and you can turn on the metrics endpoint to keep an eye on everything with a tool like Prometheus.
So, you're set up, you're secure, you're optimized. What's next? Well, the final piece of this puzzle is the path forward. Let's lay out a clear three-phase journey that will take you from where you are right now to being a true n8n expert.
This roadmap is all about learning by building. Phase 1 is the foundations. Just get your feet wet, get comfortable with the interface, and build some simple two-step automations. In Phase 2, you level up. This is where you master how to manipulate data with things like the set and if nodes. And most importantly, you master the HTTP request node, which is your golden ticket to connecting with basically any API on the internet. And then, Phase 3, that's true mastery. That's where you start writing your own logic in the code node, building custom nodes from scratch, and creating those amazing AI-driven workflows.
And that's really the goal here. Mastery isn't just about knowing what all the buttons do. It's about reaching this state of fluency, where the platform just becomes an extension of your own problem-solving ability. You'll know just by instinct when a quick low-code solution is perfect and when you need to drop down into custom code to solve a challenge with surgical precision and power.
So there you have it. You've got the professional foundation and a clear map to follow. The only thing left to do is start that journey. Your path to mastery has officially begun. So, the only question left is, what are you going to build first?